Hello and good day, everybody. I hope that you're well. Welcome to Holy Men, partnering up with Mastermind Connect. Today's a little tumultuous, so we kind of switched gears right now because, of everything that's happening today. We felt that rather than having an intro of what this event is about, we wanted to take a little time and just kind of reflect on the trauma that a lot of us experienced today with everything that happened at the Capitol. I'm just going to be transparent. It was very traumatic for me. And I would imagine that if you are any person of consciousness, then it has some type of effect on you too. So today is a conversation that we're going to bring up that's really about the body. It's going to be about the emotions and some of the things that we possibly experienced today. So not only am I really excited to have this conversation, but I want to also offer the space so that we can just kind of let that go for now. We can just let all that fall to the wayside and just really focus in on what it is that we need to do in this moment for ourselves. Because if we pay attention to everything that's going on without doing a self-evaluation and check-in, then fear will grip you, anger will grip you, tormenting emotions will grip you, and you will find yourself on the next 3 days dealing with that. So with that said, let's just take a moment for just allowing for space, just for people of color, people who are being oppressed. Let's just send our energy and our love to these people, whoever they may be, whether it's African Americans, whether it's, people who can't afford things that they deserve. Let's just really take a moment, but especially on the real, for the African American community and the Black community here in our nation. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and just take 5 seconds, and we're going to allow ourselves to pour our energy and our spirit out to all those that have been oppressed and all those that have been affected today. Bless. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and kick right into it. Holy men, for those of you who have been for the past 4 episodes a part of this conversation, then you know that we've been progressing on ideas that are really going to not only broaden your ideas or understandings, but it's also going to give you tools so that you can live the life and address some of the things that are in your life. We did a lot. We talked about redefining manhood and understanding what it is to actually be a man in this world today. Those terms don't necessarily apply to how our parents and our grandparents used to live to us today. And then we ran directly into really shaping the identity of this idea of balance and divine, right? And so understanding a little bit of sacred geometry that we learned about is understanding that the masculine and the feminine, which is not a sexuality or an organ like a penis or a vagina, but it is an energy aspect. And then from there, we went right into understanding the mind, right? The brain and where your mind is and how you have 3 brains. You have a head brain, you have a heart brain, and you have a gut brain. And then in the brain, it's separated from left and right, masculine and feminine. And from there, we dove into the beautiful part of understanding that the ego is actually a construct. It's not actually who you are. And today, we're going to dive into understanding the body and the emotions, the chemical world, or in alchemy, we like to use the understanding of the second dimension. But with that said, super excited about having this talk, super excited about bringing on the 2 gentlemen that I have here today for you. These 2 gentlemen are not only a part of the group Mastermind Connect and the Brotherhood, but they each individually inspire me, just like every brother that I've had on here. Now, first, we have up Ivo Philber, who is not only someone who has touched my life in a way as a brother, but he's also he's gotten in my ass and told me what I needed to hear at the times when I needed to hear it. And so the one thing that I love about this brother is that as honest as he is, it is literally all in love. And not only is he one of the most successful people that I know, but he has the biggest heart. Like, he has a huge heart. So Ivo, welcome to the show, brother. How are you?
I am great, brother. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. you should know a couple of things. First, thank you for your intro. It's helpful on a day like today when we have to manage our emotions given the craziness in our world. So thank you for that. And secondly, I just want you to know that for me, I am my brother's keeper. So, it's always about love, making sure that I help to keep my brothers on track to realize and achieve their greatness. So thank you.
Yeah, and he does that, guys. If you know anything about Ivo, he is literally one for his brothers. And so not only am I really grateful to have him here, but I'm always inspired by anything he has to say. Now, secondly, my man, I'm going to call him Michael, but in these days, he is now going by Oshim, which I totally respect because, at times you got to get back to those roots. And Michael Oshim, who slightly popped on and popped off, this brother is literally, I've known this man for over 10 years. And I met him back in the day when we was running them streets, having them parties. And from afar, I used to watch this brother do these things. I'm like, yo, how the hell is he doing all these things? How do you get Belvedere? How do you get all this? How do you do all this? And so like watching this man in the background, he's always been an inspiration to me. And I've always been he's always been someone I looked up to. And, I didn't actually tell this to him until this year that, he's been my big brother in the background. And I've been watching him, seeing what he's been doing. And also understanding that if I follow some of his steps and his moves, that I can also attain these things. On the flip side, he is also just a wonderful man. Like he and I have been through some shit. And, the days when we weren't so into wellness to the days that we really start to understand what it means to be healed and healthy. So with that said, I'd like to introduce Oshim Phoenix. How are you, brother?
I'm good. That's crazy that you talk about remembering me from back in the day because I'm only 25 years old. So I don't understand what you're saying. Nah, brother, I'm thank you so much for the introduction and I echo Ivo's sentiment. That introduction was amazing. I'm on this live right now with two brothers that I have a great deal of respect for. And Omar, just like you, man, Ivo is that big brother, and he will tell when I always get scared when Ivo goes.
You guys give me a bad rap here and say.
No, it's a good rap. It's a good rap.
Well, let me tell you what Ivo does. You in trouble when Ivo goes, "We gonna talk, not right now. We gonna talk."
Yeah.
And the next time you see him, like, oh man. But he tells you like he may not tell you what you want to hear, but he tells you what you need to hear. And I'm so thankful. And the same with you. We go back, and I'm just so excited that we landed in this industry and doing what we're doing for the community.
Yeah, man. Ideally, if you would have asked us 10 years ago what we would have been doing, this would not have been it. I damn sure tell you that. But to be in this space is quite wonderful because a lot of times when we as men and as Black men especially come into these spaces, I mean, let's just be real, fellas. Like, we're usually the only ones. We're usually the only people who are talking about these ideas that are going to help facilitate not only a healthy lifestyle, but a healthy mind, healthy emotions, healthy finances, and then reciprocate that to our brothers. And that's definitely the one thing that I can say that I've gotten from this experience. Now, dealing with everything that we've been dealing with today, there's some things that people may have been feeling in their emotions or in their body. And I'm curious to know, not only from you two fellas, but also to anyone out there who is a part of this conversation, what understandings do you have about your body? And can you give me a story or maybe something in your own words? What do you know about your body? Just curious.
Well,
Mike, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I'm a martial artist since 1998, 99. And I think it started there for me. Before that, I was just like lifting weights. I was like that gym head. I was like, just lift really heavy weight. And that means that you're in shape. And then when I did martial arts, it really made me understand my body overall and how it works and how it doesn't matter how big your muscles are or how tall you are, how short you are. And it's really, the internal meets the external and that just perfect marriage, and it just allowed me to push myself outside of my own limitations, that I set on myself for that. So I will say this, my understanding of my body came through martial arts, and it really allowed me, when I started martial arts, it allowed me to become absolutely fearless. If it wasn't for martial arts, I would not be an entrepreneur, because as you know, being an entrepreneur is the toughest thing you can do. I don't care what I'm telling you. So it really prepared me, mind, body, and soul. It really helped me align that holy trinity, mind, body, and soul, and incorporate that into my everyday life. And everything that I do, I'm doing martial arts, which is that flow, that infinite flow. I'm just in and out of things. I'm not fixated on one thing. So I've been taking care of my body. There's been years where, I couldn't even walk up a flight of steps, because I was holding that in. But, returning back to martial arts and my roots and physical fitness and eating right, it's just something that is a lifestyle for me. And it helped me understand my mind, body, and my soul.
Yeah, man.
That's good. Well, Omar, for me, the body tells you everything you need to know. You ever heard that saying that the body will shut you down when it needs to?
Yes.
I'm going doing things, and every now and then the body is like, "We're just going to shut you down because you're not paying attention to what I'm trying to tell you. So we're just going to shut you down." The other thing that is interesting about the body is when your instincts kick in, and I've had to accept and realize when I'm not doing something that I know I should be doing, I've come to the point where I can say, okay, what is it about this and why I'm not doing it? And my body is giving me all of these signals to, step back from whatever that is. Just step back. So you get those kind of things. And then thirdly, and we were talking about this earlier, Omar, I do a lot of speaking engagements. I'm all over the place. And my body reminds me every time. Because I get really nervous before I do a large speaking engagement. And my body always reminds me, because I get ultra nervous until I get on that stage. But my body is reminding me that make sure you don't get too cocky and stay humble. I'm telling you, I always say,
real.
The day that I stop feeling nervous is the day I've got too cocky. But my body reminds me, so, and there's so many other examples of your body really talking to you, like today, of all days, it was talking to me. And fortunately, I was in a space where I can let that out with my colleague about what my body was telling me. So, the body speaks to you even when you don't want it to speak to you.
Facts. That right there is huge from both of your aspects. Understanding that listening is the most important thing that you can do when it comes to your body. Listening to your body, listening to how you feel, because that's going to direct everything in your path and possibly not make you walk in a damn ditch, And one of the things that Mike said specifically about martial arts, that's quite beautiful, because martial arts is not the form of kicking somebody's ass. Like, it's literally the form of understanding how to use your body and listening to your system and attuning yourself to the highest level, nothing more. With that, you can do a Bruce Lee kick and a 1-inch punch. That's the thing. Yeah. But on the flip side, one thing that Ivo just said, I resonate with, because before we came on, I was saying I was getting a little nervous. And whenever you listen to your body's reaction and you actually stop and say, what am I feeling right now? From that moment, you will get a response. You will get understanding. You will get intuition. Going back to last week's conversation when we talked about that idea of intuition, the second brain, the gut brain. Mm-hmm. If you listen, it will speak to you. But with that said, because our bodies are that amazing, I want to talk about how amazing they are, because you two fellas are super accomplished in my eyes, So whenever it came to using your body to create things or to accomplish something that you're looking to do, how did you get into action to accomplish these things using the body, obviously, once again?
I look at the body as a vehicle, and we have to be honest, right? It's usually the first impression, right? And when you connect your body to spirit, and spirit to me, I don't have like a complete explanation, but it's just the way you make people feel. Like, right, somebody walks in a room and you like, man, that guy got a spirit about him. Like Ivo walks in the room, it's party time. Like, we're gonna have drinks, we're gonna turn up a little bit. We may go to 4 or 5 restaurants in one night because Ivo is the mayor of Harlem, right?
I'm gonna need to stop.
Right? So like, but when he walks in, right, and I'm using you as an example, his chest is out, he's walking tall, and he's 7 feet tall, right? And his spirit is there, but he's allowing his spirit to drive his body and his body to drive his spirit, and he has a walk about him. Same with you, right? You're a very healthy brother. But, that's the thing. If you come in and you walk into a place, and I know I'm going off the rails a little bit, but you walk into
you're right on point.
You're slouchy and you're just like, hey guys, your energy may not be received well or even noticed at all. And let's keep it real. Out of this life, we're trying to get things, right? We're trying to we're trying to make money. We're trying to elevate our lives. So you have to be conscious of to me, the one thing, I'm conscious of my posture. That one thing, walk tall, carry a big stick. I'm conscious of my posture, and it has a lot to do with my stride, the way that I walk into places, because I know people are watching me. It's not me caring about what people say. It's just we are going to determine whether we like it or not somebody's value by how they carry themselves, right? Yeah. And if I'm in this world trying to obtain things and asking for things, and I come in with a really low energy spirit, and I'm hunched over and I'm hiding and I can't look people in their eyes, they're going to go to me. That is not somebody that I want to invest in time, energy-wise. So I'm very conscious of my body. I lost 40 pounds last year. I was in Hawaii on a luxury row in the beach, beautiful place. But I didn't want to take my shirt off when I was on the beach because I was too self-conscious. And I said, we done spent like $3,000-$4,000 on this vacation. And I don't even want to take my shirt off. And this is no way to live. When I started reading a specific book by David Goggins called You Can't Hurt Me, it really changed my life because I listened to a man who was running 200-mile marathon. So I said, if this man, we're damn near the same age, he's 45, I'm 42, and he can do this, then I know I can push myself, and he used to be 300 pounds. So I challenged myself every day last year. I started eating better. I started working out every day, no matter what I was going through. So I treat my body like a temple. I know that's cliche. I treat it like a temple. Sometimes I just be in a mirror like, damn, I look better at 42 than I did at 35. And so this is all in your mind. And I drink water, and I listen, I take care of myself.
That's what's up. Mm-hmm. Now we're gonna pass that over to you, Ivo. How about you?
Well, I think Mike hit on a lot of points, right? It's kind of if you feel good, you look good, right? And Mike talked about the fact when I walk into a room. But again, I've had years of practice. I teach this. I've mentored a lot of people. In my roles, I've taught people how to interact in spaces that's not friendly to us as Black men, as Black people, right? So we have to interact and behave differently in certain places. Thanks. So when I go to all of these events to shake hands and ask for $100,000 and so forth, I can't go in there and be slouched. I can't go in there and not have to do those kind of things, right? So when I joke about this, but I tell people it becomes automatic and mechanic, right? I get to the door, you stop, head high, shoulders back, posture right, and you walk in. Hi, I'm so-and-so. Because the body, people pay attention to your body language, and also it drives so much about you and who you are and how you feel. So it's important to pay attention to the body in that way, so you can give your best self.
I like what you just said, who you are and how you feel, because, a lot of times whenever we are, like, let's say if we don't necessarily have the confidence or the ability to take action, that's going to have a lot of backlash. There's been times where I know that I sold myself short because instead of listening and taking action on the things that I knew that I needed to do, I got stuck in that lull moment, and that like Mike said, hey guys, I got stuck there only for a moment. But in that moment, I had to realize that, you not listening to your body and taking action on your goals in the way that you know you should, it had a psychological effect that actually like took more time to deal with rather than just stepping up and just going forward with my actions. And so for me, I had to learn early on, like mid 30s, and that's, for me, I'm still in my 30s, so I'm in the front. That this is something that I needed to start to really appreciate for myself, and so taking care of my body, seeing my body in a new way, and like Mike said, not being so self-conscious about my body, no matter what stage of that is, like wherever I'm at, I'm working to do my best and to be my best. So I appreciate everything you guys are saying here, because it's actually relating to me in a way that's triggering some stuff that from the past. Now, from there, this is also about understanding how we can give tools to the community. So to the community, if you guys have anything that maybe have come up for you during this conversation, some ideas, I see some comments already coming in. By all means, join in the questions, join in and leave your comments. We're going to get right to them. But I do have something that I wanted to actually go into is from using your skills to not only get you to the place that you needed to go. It's really important to understand that our body, it has like a shitload of things going on in order for us to fulfill this concept, right? So we're in this human form. We got skin, we got muscles to take action, we got bones to keep us stable and balanced, we have organs to keep shit flowing, right? And we also have multiple systems that function on many different levels. Now, when you really think about the body, a lot of people think of it just like as a body, like a meat sack. Like, it's simple, right? It's just like, oh, this shit must be simple. But the body is not simple. The body is super intrinsic. Mm-hmm. It's so damn intrinsic that you can create all types of crazy shit in your mind that will literally relate information to your body to give you a certain feeling. Now, because we have not only went through a lot of trauma specifically today, but all of 2020, we've been going through a lot of things that don't necessarily serve us in a positive manner. So our bodies have taken on a lot of new experiences, right? And one thing that I personally noticed during this whole thing is that I got this comfort, like this feeling of comfort of like kind of being lazy. Like COVID had me lazy as a motherfucker. I was like, okay, kind of with being lazy, because I was like, ain't shit to do really. Like, if I talk to my clients, they ain't doing shit. If I reach out to my people, they ain't doing shit. And so like I had to first recognize that, what's wrong right now? Like, what's your pattern? What's your habit? Why are you feeling, or why are you not taking action right now? And don't get me wrong, there's always a time when you must take a break. But in this moment, it wasn't meant for me to take a break because I was wanting to do things, but the circumstances were like, no. And so after fucking the entire March to December, I had to come to this hard conclusion that, you know what, homie? I have created new habits during 2020 that don't serve me. Because 2019, those habits they wouldn't have gotten me anywhere. And so I'm curious to know, how has your body been feeling, or possibly what habits did you notice that you created during 2020?
Well, I love that you said that. But as soon as we went on lockdown last year, and you were a part of this, I came up with this concept called the Be Well, Stay Well program. And we were just launching the app and the digital version for Mastermind Connect. Manny, JD, and myself were just like, yo, all right. So we did all that work, and now the country's about to go on lockdown. We have in-person events. We were just like, oh, what are we going to do? So we came up with the Be Well, Stay Well program, which was a 3-month program. And my goal with that was really just to keep our minds and our bodies active. And we were holding people accountable. A 3-month program. Every week things were getting done. So I think that really helped the men in Mastermind Connect really focus their mind on their wellness, right? When we talk about wellness. And what I think that the worst habit that I picked up was I'll do it tomorrow. It was procrastination. And what happened was it actually had an effect on me. So I started having pain because energy can't be destroyed, right? So like move it around, right? So I started having this pain in my knees that was not even about actual knee pain. It was stress that I was keeping in from stopping and starting with my workouts at the end of the year, not the beginning. I was killing it. So it started to affect my knees. So what I started to do was get a little committed again, started to like really flex my body and massage myself. Like, got the roller. Somebody taught me how to do that. So I realized that my stress had nowhere to go because I had nowhere to go. And that was the number one thing because we were just stuck in the house. Usually I'm like, yo, I'm out right now. I'm out right now.
Yeah.
You're always moving. So what I just adopted was three things, about my body, right? I'm 42 years old and people go, man, when you get in your 40s, and then they say, when you get in your 30s, when you get in your, like, you start hearing all these stories from people that are older and you're like, nah, that ain't going to be me, son. And then you're like, yo, really, bending down hurts a lot, right? And I don't want that to happen anymore. So I've been able to sort of reverse age, but I do these three things. There's three things that I said to myself. First of all, acceptance, body acceptance. And I want to talk about this. These men out here, and I posted this in another group that I have, with these men, there are a lot of men that are body conscious and will not take their shirts off at pools. They will not, they're embarrassed by their bodies, and a lot of it has to do with all this image that we see on social media and comparison, etc. So the first thing I did was got rid of that. I was like, I don't need this six-pack. When I stopped worrying about a six-pack, it's when I got a six-pack. And I said to myself, first of all, it's acceptance. Acceptance was one. I accept all of this, whatever it is. If it's decaying, if it's growing, I accept it. The second thing during COVID that I came up with was movement. I'm gonna have movement every day. Movement every day, no matter what it takes, whether that's dancing, and Courtney's in here, like we will make videos and go back and forth battling about, dancing and stuff. Because you want to have that play too, right? Because we're lacking that social interaction with one another. So when do we have play if we don't have partners, etc.? And the last thing, and I'll land the plane here, is devotion. Being devoted to maintaining my body, because on my father's side, everybody is sick. Everybody is sick. There's not one person who does not have a medical condition ranging from diabetes to heart disease, etc. And I ain't going out like that. And that's why I'm devoted to making sure that I move every day and I accept everything that I am.
That's beautiful.
Mike talked about a lot of things, right? And I'm going to talk right now to especially the Black men who are watching. We don't do a good enough job of taking care of our bodies, and we need to. Okay? So as we've gone through this pandemic, I have learned to listen more to my body. So as you guys know me, I'm always the happy-go-lucky, the brighter side of things, all that. For the first time in my life, I had what I realized afterwards was anxiety. And that came after the George Floyd thing, right? I was sitting in my apartment and I didn't know why. I was just jittery and just like, I was like, I don't know what's happening. What's wrong with me? And it wasn't until I really sat and thought about it that I realized I was having anxiety. I was having an anxiety attack at that point. And that's happened to me now twice in my life, and both during this COVID time. So I recognized that I had to process some of those things differently, right? And I was out there, I did the protest thing, but again, I was trying to do it safe because I didn't want to get sick and all those things. And then I had to realize, I talked to one of my friends, I had to share this with some people I mentor, is, you can't necessarily fight this the way everybody else fights it. Find what your sweet spot is and fight that. Okay. So I know, while I did do some of the protests, me being out there protesting every day is not what Ivo does. What Ivo does is help to raise money. Ivo helps to give money. Ivo helps to mobilize the troops. So find your niche in terms of how you can be a part of the process, right? Because when I tell you I went through those 2 bouts of anxiety, and I was like, what the hell is happening? I also realized that because I was always running and working and doing a million things, I wasn't necessarily sleeping, right? And we know sleep is a big thing, right? So now I find myself in bed at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. I went from 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, right? But instead of like, damn, I'm exhausted. Go to bed, right? So you start to pick up those habits of things you need to do. Drinking a lot of water, right? I drink, Now, one of the interesting things about COVID for me is like, it has curtailed the alcohol intake quite a bit.
Facts.
Also managing all of the things. And Mike, you talked about being in the house and movement, which is great. And part of it for me is sunlight, right? Sunlight. So I had an apartment that was the ground floor of a brownstone, not a lot of sunlight, bright lights. And then one day I was like, I need sunlight. I moved to a new job. So what did I do? I moved to a new apartment where I have tons of sunlight, right? Because that is important for this body, right? And it's important for us. And we got to figure out that we have to take care of our bodies, getting our bodies checked, listen to our bodies, being worried about our high blood pressure, all of those things, and not putting ourselves in harm's way, right? So, Mike, you talk about, how old are you now, Mike?
42.
You look good, brother. And I'm going to put it out here publicly. I'm 54. Okay?
You look good, bro.
And doing it. Being 54, and I mean, all this now is, but I think part of that in being 54, and Mike, like you said, being comfortable with your body. And I said, I have a little pouch. I'm like, if I look like this at 54, there are some 25-year-olds who don't look this good at this. I'm good, right? But also making sure part of that is the mindset, right? And stress, and understanding what stress does to the body and all those kinds of things. And I learned a long time ago, and it was a very flippant, very, you just wouldn't even think it had this impact, but it was watching Karate Kid. When Mr. Miyagi was teaching Danielson, wax on, wax off. And somewhere in that dialogue, and I grew up in peace. My mother heard me because she'd be like, what the hell? And he said, sometimes you have to say, so what the, and for whatever reason, that hit me. And I have gone through life ever since then going, okay, right. Because you have to accept the things you cannot change and change the things that you can, right? So that mindset, and listen to your body, and your body will talk to you. Your body will talk to you about when things aren't right, when your blood pressure isn't right, when you're not eating right, when you're drinking too much, all those things. And we ignore all of the signs that our body is giving us. The pain we have in the back of the knees, Mike, the body tells you when you need to be doing something differently.
Right.
The reality is we just don't listen to it.
And I like to go back to the first thing you said is as far as us as black men. Us as black men, we have like a chip on our shoulder for feeling good. I don't know what it is. Ooh. It's like we have anguish against like keeping ourselves healthy. Like we want to be so hard. We want to be so the realest nigga, right? And we want to be that so much that we literally destroy our own psychological, emotional, and physical bodies.
Absolutely.
Now,
yes,
that shit hurts me because as I'm reading here in the comment, Joya, she says the body speaks to you up until you listen. And so what that is that's real shit. The body is going to literally tell you exactly what it is that you need to know. Now, for us as men, gentlemen, fellas, all of you out there, if you are just now hearing about this for the first time, or if you have had things that stifled you, please, by all means, reach out. Like, understand that you have to just surrender to the fucking facts that it is not about being the hardest. It is not about being the toughest. It is not about being the realest. It is literally about how you feel and how you treat yourself and your community. Period. And so if you don't feel
tough, right? Let's define tough. Let's define tough. Because people think tough is like you got to do this. No. Tough is really all about how resilient you are when you're in shit, right? Mm-hmm. Tough is about how you react to situations when it's the most uncomfortable. So let's redefine some of those things, right?
Yeah.
Tough is how you were able to process and walk away from when you realize there's some BS going on, And that's about being tough, right? We can have about physical strength, it's about toughness, right? And we have to understand resilience. We have to understand when we have to think through things. And we also have to understand when it's not about the physical and body. It's about some of the mental.
Yeah, and that's something you touched on a second ago. That mindset, that mental aspect of how you actually see the world and perceive it will have a drastic impact on your body. Now, there was a comment that someone says, how do you, I can't remember where it was, but they were saying, how do you not receive, oh, here it is, from a Facebook user, why the body is receptive to outside energy. And a lot of times it's because your mind is receptive to outside energy. Like, your body is literally only responding to your consciousness. And that is why we got into this conversation today about the body, and why I called it the miracle body, because the miracle body, it knows how to heal itself. And we're going to get to that. But I wanted to just address that because you hit that point. Mike, you was about to say something.
It's like, those chemicals that we have, you get to oxytocin, endorphin, serotonin. And, once you understand your body and how it works, you can release those things on demand, right? So before I got on this call, I did an hour-long hybrid full body workout, and I had to release some serotonin. I had to release some stuff to make me feel good, because I was sitting here stressed about the situation that's going on in DC, because it was very heartbreaking. And I was texting my cousin because he's a cop down there, and just making sure people that I know are safe. And once again, it's kind of tapping into that ancestral trauma stuff of saying, like, wow, I'm living my ancestors' nightmares all over again. And I started to really get disturbed by it, because even looking at their bodies, right? Because I look at people's bodies, and like, you look at these people and they look like trolls, right? They're walking towards you, and they look like creatures. They don't even look like human beings. It's like they lack sunlight and love and joy. You're looking at these people and you're like, are they gremlins? If I throw water on them, will they multiply? And that's what it looked like. So I looked at that and I said, well, I don't want to be like that, right? And that's what happens, because when you don't pay attention to your body, you become rotten, like fruit, right? And I don't want to rot away. I want to keep getting stronger so I can be out here like Ivo at 54. So, why are we so receptive to outside? We're big ass magnets. We're just big ass magnets, like the heart, sends out electromagnetic frequencies, pulls in and pushes out. The mind is so powerful. We get between 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and your mind is trying to just make sure it's processing the ones that you need for the day. Your gut is your intuition. And a lot of scientists are learning more and more about that. So that gut brain, that heart brain, your actual mind, like, man, there's a lot going on. And then it's all communicating with your body. So if somebody's energy is off and you're like this, like, something body is communicating with you. Like, I really believe Black people got that sixth sense where it's like, we can sense something about to go down. You ever be in a club and be like, hey, yo, one black person run, everybody run. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're connected through that. That's a language, body language, right?
Yeah,
so
man. Yeah.
That's why you feel what you feel.
Absolutely. And we also have to embrace the fact that we do live in the outside world, right? So we have to embrace all of the messages that the outside world is giving us, right? Again, if you ever realize, if you're in a dark space for so long and then you go out in the sunlight and you just kind of embrace the sunlight, it changes your whole, and there is a thing as vitamin D deficiency, which we get from the sunlight, right? So
exactly.
We know in the winter months, we don't get as much vitamin D, so doctors tend to prescribe vitamin D pills. So we have to understand the impact of all of these external things on the human body. And Mike talks about, the body language, the sixth sense. You ever notice when you get into nervous situations, your stomach goes in knots? Right? Or when you get anxiety, your chest starts to tighten up. These are all parts of the body that's talking to you, but you've got to be in tune with what those things mean for you. Because they could be different things. And sometimes you're not even thinking about it, but your body is kicking in, telling you, pay attention, something else. You're not paying attention, but something is about to happen and you're not paying attention, but you just kind of know because you're like, why am I feeling like this. Now, let me take it one step further. That's also with people that you interact with and you meet, right? Have you ever met someone and your body just said something about that person that's just not, it's just something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but there's something. So again, we got to listen to our bodies.
Facts.
When we get these
Now,
symptoms.
everything that we just said, real quick, I want to address one of the questions in here. My man Pook Hustle, fantastic young man. If you guys don't know about him, check him out, follow him. He's a great guy. He says, "How do you guys disperse stress or tension when you feel it inside your body?" Now, what we just said helps to relate to that, but the thing that, like, for instance, going out and getting sunlight, right? It's a huge thing to disperse stress. Grounding, going out into nature and just being with nature, looking at some trees and shit, looking at leaves brush all around and shit. Man, that's a good thing. And then moving your body. Moving your body is critical. So as a health professional, if you guys didn't know, I'm a licensed massage therapist. I focus on medical and sports rehab massage and also energy work and helping people to understand their emotions through stress. So what I've noticed is that the tension that people have is due to their mental constructs. And that's literally the next thing that we're going to go into, which is the emotions. So people are hilarious with their understanding of emotions because we live in a nation, right? Because we're men, we're like, oh, emotions are apparently for women. Emotions apparently not what men do, except anger and frustration, which is a really low emotion. But whenever it comes down to the ideas of emotions, we got to understand this better. We got to redefine it. Emotions are chemicals, everybody. They're literally chemicals. Mike mentioned dopamine. We got oxytocin. We got acetylcholine, which helps you to relax. We got adrenaline, which helps you to get into action. We got cortisol, which causes tension when you are in danger to fight or flight. But cortisol under situations where you just received a shitty email from somebody, that's not fight or flight, but you still getting that damn cortisol. Now, feelings are your perception of that chemical. So we all have different perceptions. We all have different beliefs. We all have different systems. So how you perceive a certain situation will determine the reaction that you get. And that is a fucking miracle, guys. I need you to just take a moment and understand what I just said. Your perception will create the reality within your body to give you the sensation. Now, I see y'all's brains moving.
I got a couple of things there, right? First, we have to learn ourselves well enough to know how we react to things. Some people take everything to heart. Man. Some people is like, oh, whatever. So we have to learn how we react to things first. That's the first thing. Okay, I know I have a propensity to X, whatever that is, right? Other thing, to really answer that person's question directly about how do you release the stress when you feel it inside of you is you've got to find what works for you in terms of what makes you feel better, in terms of what helps you to release that energy, right? So for me, sometimes it really is just kind of stopping and going, let it out, right? Sometimes it's okay. And, and it's funny because when I do speaking engagements, I'm back there like, ooh, doing that, so you got to find whatever it is for you. And sometimes calling somebody that just need to talk to.
Word.
Whatever that is, it's different for each person. And we got to find what works for us. I never advocate going to have alcohol because you're stressed.
Oh, boy.
I have alcohol because you're being social.
So, exactly, right? Because you want to have fun. You want to have alcohol.
I tell people, if I am at the point where I have had a hard day at work and I go home and I'm like, damn, I had a hard day. I have to have a drink. That's a problem for me.
Yeah.
But I'll be out every night having a good time with people and having drinks. So, so it's really finding whatever works for you, right? And music could be that, right? Sometimes you find some good music just to kind of dance a little bit, just kind of, and sometimes it's just, hugging your loved one, whatever it is that works for you, you've got to find that that's going to help you to release that stress.
Yeah.
I see you.
I agree. And the thing what we have to realize is that this is stuff that we need these things in our arsenal, right? Because the mind was not meant to be calm. That's not it was never meant to be calm. Nobody said, "Oh, I'm supposed to have a calm mind." So you have to work on your mind, right? So you have to get the arsenal that you can use, the weapons that you can use to combat that stress and not make it a fight. I'm using very heavy words there, but just to sort of observe, right? You want to become the great observer of your life. So just to answer your question, but before I answer your question, I want to talk about feelings real quick, right? Feelings only become emotions when you give them a value judgment, right? So this is why it makes sense to become the observer. Like if you feel like shitty today, like stop taking it personal. Who told you that you was not going to have a shitty day out of all the days of your life? Today for me did not feel good today. I did not feel good today. And I rested today. But as an entrepreneur, I'm like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I just launched an online academy. I'm about to do some other dope stuff. And I'm like, I never feel like I'm doing enough. And then, the woman that I'm dating says, why don't you just sit your ass down? Guys, that's what I did. Sit your ass down. And when you are feeling stressed out, sit down, stay deep, find pleasure in the stillness. So what I do, another thing that I do when I am still, that's the first thing that I do. But I have a breathing technique that I learned from my boy Joshua. You know Joshua. I learned from my boy Joshua. It's called the 4-4-8 method. And it's breathing in for 4, holding for 4, and breathing out for 8. And I do that several times until I feel calm. I turn the TV on, I put the phone in the other room, and that's how I come back to center. That's how I calm all the madness that's going on up here. Because whatever is going on up here is going to affect everything on down. Another thing that I do as far as grounding is concerned, and Selena said this, is music, y'all. I love music. I put on some music, but I make sure that it's the right hertz, right? Like it's
yeah.
Like I'm not trying to put on trap music right now. When I'm feeling motivated and I'm feeling I got that adrenaline, I'm like, nuck if you buck.
At lower frequency.
I just show my age by saying that. But that's the frequency that I'm on. If I'm on a frequency, if I'm trying to not lower my frequency, but even out my frequency so I can get back on track, I'm going to put on some meditation music. I'm going to put on some like Thievery Corporation, some more worldly type music, and just zone out and give myself permission. That's the thing. We are in this industrial society, this matrix where it tells us we always got to be doing something. It's our kids, it's our job, it's our hustles, it's our businesses, and that's going to drive you to the early grave. So those are some grounding techniques that I use.
Let's go back to music is important. I don't know if you spend enough time on music, and sometimes you got to find those songs that move you in a different way, either bring you back to your childhood or, like one of the things when I'm having a rough day, I put on a little Kirk Franklin, We Fall Down, But We Get Up,
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So you find the music that really helps you to move. You find things that, you find people that bring you joy. All of those kinds of things. But Omar, you talked about the mind, right? One of the techniques that I use whenever I'm dealing with whatever it is, or my day is shitty, or whatever the case may be, or it didn't go the way I wanted to, I always think about someone who has it worse off than I do. Put shit in perspective real quick.
I agree with you 100%.
So, and those are kind of used to psych yourself out.
Yeah, and funny enough, Pook is actually he's a musical artist, so I hope that he can find some way to even channel his energy to release that. And for all of you who out there who may be artists, find your craft, channel it, and then just let it all out on that canvas that you have in front of you. Really quickly, because we only got 11 minutes and 35 seconds. I want to go ahead and 10 minutes, 35 seconds. I want to go ahead and help a lot of people understand what's the real point of all of this, because we're talking about the body, we're talking about the mind, we're talking about emotions, we're talking about how us as men have needed to really understand. Now, I just needed to point out for all of us men out there so that we can start to understand and redefine emotions and perception. Emotions are a guiding system. And it is not, literally not a weakness. It's not like something that is going to make you less of a man. It's not something that's going to make you like, well, what JD like to say, a bitch ass nigga. Like, it's not going to make you that. It's not going to make you that, because those things are just propagated to us based on our society. Using your emotions is literally the most important thing. And the reason that we like to talk about alchemy, and I like to talk about alchemy, because we are little alchemists. We all are literal alchemists. And let me tell you why. Here are some chemicals that you have in your bodies. Particles, which are formations of atoms that make up bigger atoms. You have iron, you have hydrogen, you have nitrogen, you have oxygen, you have phosphorus, carbon, sodium, and then you have about 76 more particles in your body alone. Now, alchemists put chemicals together, transmute those shits, and make shit. Now, we are putting chemicals together, transmuting that based on how we feel or we emote, and then we're making use of that. We're making something by how we process or alchemize the chemicals within our body. Now, one of the things that I really want to point out is understanding that we as men have emotional intelligence, and it's important for us to develop our emotional intelligence. Now, I know this question is going to take up the whole minute, so we're going to go ahead and end on this, and this is for everybody in the room as well. As a man in this current age, how has developing your emotional intelligence changed your life?
Man, big
time. Well, can I go back to something you said before I jump into that?
Sure.
All the things that we're made up of, and I'm big on, especially Black men, taking care of yourselves and going to the doctor, because any of those things in our body, if they are too much or too little, they're problematic, right? So, which is why going to the doctor is important, so you can get that test. And I just did it, right? So I'm looking at this test. I'm looking at my potassium, my calcium, all the things that make us up, and which ones are in whack and out of whack. And fortunately, my doctor is like, excellent results. But we have to pay attention to those things, especially those of us at a certain age. That potassium number starts going up, that's treading to the, prostate cancer. So we got to pay attention to our body from that perspective. So let me do that there. Emotional intelligence and how we've built up our emotional intelligence at this time, it is connecting with and surrounding yourself with people who can motivate you, support you, and keep you in that space. You guys joke about the fact that, I'm a tough and I do all that stuff, but part of that is making sure that you surround yourself with friends who will not lie to you, who will give you the real deal, but who will also lift you up and prop you up when you need it. So, and who are able to have those conversations with you to help you to expand your mind, right?
Yeah.
But the more you expand your mind in having great conversations, intellectual conversations with your folks, it's the more you're able to develop the bandwidth to deal with a multitude of situations. So that's a major component of the emotional intelligence part. The other part of that is nourishing your soul, right? So the water, nutrition, all of those things play into sleep. All of those things play into how effective and well your mind is working and feeding food for the brain. Now, you guys know I eat everything under the sun, but it's you gotta learn to eat certain things that's going to help the brain work better, right? Because and then the emotional intelligence part about knowing EQ, IQ, all those things, but knowing, again, going back to learning yourself and knowing where your deficiencies are and trying to develop in those areas so you can respond to things in a better manner.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Ivo. And, if I may add, for me, emotional intelligence changed my life. I did not come from a family line of emotionally intelligent men. I just came from absolute savages. Just chop wood, it was just like animals, right? Love, I'm just making fun. But for me, emotional intelligence, was the thing that changed my life. And because I had arrested development, my development was arrested because I allowed my ego to run my life for so long. And like I said, I don't demonize the ego, but I recognize that there is healthy ego and there's unhealthy ego. So I let my ego run my life forever until I ran out of steam, right? So for me, emotional intelligence, I always defer to the diagram of self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. And those things help me become grounded in my decisions. It gives me the opportunity to understand where the other person is coming from. Not all the time. I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to sit up here, like I'm this guru or whatever like that.
Yeah.
But that self-awareness part is the most important to me. When you are a self-aware man, you are ahead of the game. Straight
Absolutely.
up. When you are a self-aware man, there was something that Ivo did this summer that made me cry. And I won't get into it. I watched him do something, and he did something in an interaction with somebody, standing his ground in a situation. And that situation had been my problem because I used to be afraid of certain emotions in myself. So I used to ignore it, and it became a bigger problem. So he was self-aware, but he had the mindset to self-regulate and say, no. I'm standing on my principles. I'm not going to let you do X, Y, Z to me. And I saw this man make a whole big ass tractor trailer, guy driving it, turn his ass around on the New York block. And he was standing in front of it like this. And I said, this was a perfect example. If it was a meme, it would have went viral. This was a perfect example of standing your ground and standing in your power and believing in yourself. So for me, emotional intelligence is knowing also when to be like, don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
You understand? It's not about being passive, but if people respect you when you stand up for yourself. Nobody wants to follow a man who is just easily pushed by the breeze of the global wind of the wind. You've got to stay rooted, and this is the importance. And I'll land the plane here. This is the importance of staying grounded and doing that root work. So that for me is emotional intelligence is everything. Even in sexual, romantic relationships, it's powerful, guys. Powerful.
And Mike, that event happened. I know we have to run. Mike actually pulled me aside and I was moved when he shared the impact that had on him.
Huge.
And it wasn't. I didn't respond to the situation in an angry manner, and that's what we have to learn how to diffuse those situations without giving up what we need to give up. But I got to give a plug for Mastermind Connect here, because the way you also develop that emotional intelligence is having conversations and learning about people and learning different perspectives. And Mastermind Connect does that very well, where we sit around the table and learn about people, about their lives, and you build empathy, you build understanding, you build all of those things. And that helps you in the next situation because now you've had some insight on those kinds of things, or somebody else, how they behave. So I just want to shout out Mastermind Connect.
And
big time.
I want to add on that because we have worked really goddamn hard.
Facts.
There is a reason you don't see a lot of men's groups out there, unless they're talking about money or chasing a bag or sports or a fraternity. There's a reason you don't see a lot of men's groups. And you know why? Because it's hard as hell to get men to commit to self-development. It is like pulling teeth. And men, I'm telling you right now, I'm taking a different stance this year. I'm calling folks out. Like, I care about you enough to call you out. When I see you stressed out, blah, 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 you asking me for help, I give you some keys, or I introduce you to Ivo, or I introduce blah, 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 and you don't follow through. I'm asking the man out there, whether you're a Mastermind Connect member or not, follow through and show up for yourself. Because if you don't show up for yourself, you're gonna die a clown. I guarantee you. I guarantee you. Look, guys, I don't need to. I'm not trying to be. I'm not in corporate America. I can do whatever I want.
Right, I got 1 minute left to close out the show.
Show up, and if you want, sign up at mastermindconnect.com. Thank you, Omar.
Please do. No, that was beautiful because you helped my job, goddamn. But with that said, I'd like to also just give you tribute to you two gentlemen, and also to the Brotherhood of Mastermind Connect. It literally changed my life. It allowed me not only to understand more about myself, but it also allowed me to trust men. FYI, you need to trust men. Period. Like, that's one of our major issues. But with that said, not only are we going to shout out mastermindconnect.com, if you want to be a member, if you're interested as a man and you enjoy this conversation, go over to mastermindconnect.com and you can check out what we're doing. We also have an app and things that we do in the group that's for members only that go far and wide, from music to meditation to working out together to partying together to smoking some cigars together. We have a full range of people in this group that we all are really about respect, reciprocity, and resources. And we live by that. And I'd like to thank all the guests and all you wonderful comments out there. I know we couldn't get to all of them because they came in flooded, but Poop, Courtney, Carlos, Joya, all the Mastermind brothers, Omari, I see you. Thank you. Even for the women, we got Denise. Who else we got in here? We got Delana, we got Joya. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for tuning in to Holy Men. But before we leave, I'm going to give you guys a second to go ahead and plug whatever you got to talk about. You got 10 seconds. Go.
My plug is be present. Be present. Right? I can do all those things. I work for PayPal. We own. I can do all those things. But Mastermind Connect is the space to connect, grow, learn, and get support. So I'm shouting out Mastermind Connect.
And I want to say that it doesn't matter if you're, black, white, Chinese, candy stripe. It don't matter. If you identify as a man and find your community, we have men from all over the country in this group. I want to plug, shout out to Mastermind Connect. I want to shout out to Manny, JD, Courtney, all the guys, Omar, Ivo. I just launched the Inner Warrior Chip Academy. I have a self-development platform called the Rebel Camp, and we just produced our second project called the Inner Warrior Chip Academy. And that is an accountability community that is focused on self-development. That is like doing work, like you come into school, but you having fun as well. So that just launched. I just got my first member from Japan. Like we're really growing every day. Shout out to Selena, shout out to Ramon and everybody that helps. And then lastly, I just want to say, watch out for a book I'm working on. I'm working on a book. It's my first graphic novel about my life. So that's also coming in spring. All right.
Omar, my last plug. Sorry. Be involved politically. That's it.
Yes.
I'm done.
That's it. After today, we realize what we need to do in these streets. We need to do what needs to happen for ourselves, emotionally, mentally, so that we can get our own self together. Therefore, we can fight the fight for our communities. But with that said, I always got to give a shout out to Manny. He's behind the scenes doing all that magic that y'all see on screen. And he is doing a fantastic fucking job, my man. He is on it. And with that said, mastermindconnect.com. Thank you for being here with Holy Men as we talked about the miracle body. Thank you, Ivo. Thank you, Mike. You guys are a gem. Until next week, we will be going on live. We got 2 special guests. I'm not going to hit you with them yet. You're going to have to show up to see who they are. And with that said, much love to all of you. Thank you again, brothers. This was a pleasure. I always laugh all the time when I'm with y'all, so thank you for the laughs.
All right, brother. I'm gonna go get some movement. All right, bro.